everybody. And the first person I want to thank is my mother,
Oh.
because without my mother, none of this would have happened. Not our family, not my father, for sure. I don't know if anybody knows, but without my mother, my father would have never been able to do everything that he had done in his life. And also, in particular, this project that we've initiated in my father's memory, it would not have been possible without my mother. So, very much want to thank her. So, as many of you probably know, when my father passed away, I basically decided that I was going to initiate this building project for the synagogue that I belong to in Israel, in his memory. I felt very strongly that there was a building here that represented, him and the work that he did, which was the Asa Center for Lifelong Jewish Education, or hopefully I got the name right, the Asa Center for Lifelong Jewish Learning at Temple Beth Tikva. And because Israel was such a big part of his life, I felt it was very, very important for there to be a synagogue building in Israel connected to him and to his legacy. So that's kind of how the idea initially started. I wanted to say a few words about the congregation that I belong to. We've been meeting in very temporary quarters for the last 11 years. We were first in a school hallway, now we're meeting in a gym of the community center. And as we're growing, the need for us to have a building has become more and more apparent. One of the unique things about my congregation is that within the modern Orthodox world, we're at the cutting edge of women's leadership and promoting women's involvement in the religious realm. So we're doing some things that are considered very creative, very out of the box, very cutting edge, and in some ways revolutionary. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't come with sometimes without ruffling feathers, which sometimes happens. But slowly, we've been around now 11 years, as we continue to develop, we're having a wider impact on the community around us. So we're beginning to see other congregations beginning to be more open to some of the innovations that we've taken on. And I do have to say that my father very much did promote women in Judaism. There are many women today who are rabbis, who are cantors, who are educators because of my father's encouragement. So I feel like that piece also contributes to continuing his legacy. The last thing I want to say is that we've recently, in this last year, kind of expanded the vision. In the last 8 months or so, I have begun meeting with Bulgarian Jewish Israeli organizations. And one of the people that I've had contact with said to me, look, there's no synagogue anywhere in Israel today. In the past, there were synagogues that's connected with the Bulgarian Jewish community, and it's something that would really be important in terms of continuing the story of how Bulgaria saved its Jews during the Holocaust, which was a very big part of my father's work throughout his lifetime. He spent well over 50 years publicizing the fact that Bulgaria had saved its Jews during the Holocaust. There's a picture here, I don't know if any of you saw, but this is a picture that was recognizing the Bulgarian Orthodox Church in Bulgaria for saving its Jews. The bishops of the church actually laid down on the tracks to stop the deportations. So he was very responsible, both in Bulgaria as well as in Israel and as well as in the United States, in recognizing Bulgaria. He also, you can hold up this is his thesis here, there's 2 copies. He was the first person that we know of in America or in English-speaking countries to write in English. This is his master's thesis, and it's the whole story of the saving of the Bulgarian Jews during the Holocaust. And as far as we know, this is the first document that exists in English on the topic. There were documents in Hebrew, there were documents in Bulgarian, but there was nothing in English. And this was published in 1963. That was the year his dissertation, his master's thesis was written. So I've been in touch with Bulgarian Jewish Israeli organizations about the idea of having a connection with the Bulgarian Jewish community in terms of the synagogue building, and also as using it as a platform to really commemorate and publicize the story, which is a very unique story. One of my father's oldest friends who's involved in one of these organizations, he right now is making attempts to recognize the Bulgarian Orthodox Church to nominate them for a Nobel Peace Prize. because basically the church was instrumental in this story that's not told very often. So we've kind of expanded the idea. That's another component that we've added. And we're hoping that that will also help continue my father's legacy, because he had many interests and many different directions that he went in, but this was definitely a part of his story. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I'm going to have a few people speak. There are a number of people here who have visited my congregation. The name of the congregation is Zahavi-Asa. Zait means olive, but that's the name of our neighborhood, the olive neighborhood. In Efrat, the city that I live in, each hill in Efrat, each neighborhood is named after one of the fruits or grains of Israel. So the olive tree and olives is one of those fruits. And Zemer means song. So our congregation very much is a very joyful singing congregation, as you'll hear from a few people here who have visited us. So there's a couple of people here who are going to speak, but I wanted to just note all the people who have visited us, and I wanted to also extend the invitation to anybody else who's in Israel to please come to us for all of Shabbat, part of Shabbat. We love having guests, and we're very welcoming. Rabbi Art Levine spent Simchat Torah with us. I think he was our first visitor. He's a member of Temple Beth Tikva. And then Henry Cohen and Mark Spiegel spent part of a Shabbat with us. And Dr. Bruce Kahn and his wife Janet also spent time with us for part of Shabbat. And our latest was Katie Woodward, Archibald Woodward, okay. And she was just recently with us for 4 days for both Shabbat and for Sukkot. So I'm going to first ask Henry Cohen, who is currently the president of Temple Beth Tikva, to say a few words about his experience in our congregation.
Yeah, I'd forgotten you asked me to do that.